Secretary, please record the roll. You have the minutes of the April 8th meeting before you. No meeting in the month of May. Are there any corrections or additions to those meetings, to those minutes? If not, if there is a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we accept the meetings as presented to us.
Motion by Pat, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sean. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried without dissent. Thank you. A regular meeting for June 10 to consider a request for a variance to exceed the maximum square footage of an accessory structure by 900 square feet at 5530 Avenue Southwest. Who's here to speak for that? Would you come up to the mic and give us name and all the information?
I'm Brandon Seeley. I bought my lot about 10 years ago behind my house with the intent to build a garage back there someday. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this.
You're doing fine. I think everyone's visited your site, Brandon, and know pretty much what you want to do back there. Do you have questions for Brandon?
I have a question.
Okay, Pat.
The information we have in our packet is sort of a Corvette type building. Is that what you're putting up?
Yeah,
A dome shape?
It's not dome shaped.
Well, it's
It's a future steel building. It's a galvanized aluminum steel mix with a painted finish over it. It's got a 50-year rust warranty. It's got no hot and cold transfer through the metal, so it does not need to be insulated. It's guaranteed to be 30 degrees warmer in the wintertime and 30 degrees cooler in the summertime.
Okay. Is that something that is acceptable by the city?
Well, Mr. Bren, anything over 250 square feet as an accessory structure needs to have similar materials as the primary structure. The city of Dickinson does not permit here. This is in our ETZ. This variance is actually only to exceed the square footage of the accessory structure. With talking with the applicant, his intentions were to incorporate a brick facade over the front of it. You can talk to that if you're still on board with that.
go ahead and tell us what you're going to do with the front of that.
Well, I rocked the front of my house several years ago. I think I got a picture in here somewhere. Well, I have a whole pallet full of that rock left over. And then I was going to OSB the front and side it from there up the same color as my house.
I think probably our main concern is the 900 square foot over.
Correct. And that will be part of the building requirement with the county to follow our ordinance as far as similar materials on this structure. So they'll be issuing the permit. They should be following the guidelines that's set forth in the municipal code, City of Dickinson municipal code.
Are there any other buildings back there, Brandon?
No, I just trees. I planted 54 trees back there
Okay.
10 years ago.
Other questions for Brendan on the 900 square foot overage?
These letters that we received with this,
Yeah, go ahead.
Are they immediate neighbors?
Yep, everybody surrounding the property. There's a few I didn't hit because they weren't home, but the main guys that had an issue with it, I brought him over and showed him the material, and he seen that it had a painted finish, and it wasn't just a Quonset. That's what he was calling it before, and he signed a piece of paper saying he doesn't have any issues with it.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Leonard, do you have anything else?
If the board sees fit to approve this, I would ask that, as we have done in the past, that if it's approved, that this would be the last detached structure, permitted or unpermitted.
I think that's a given when we're over that much. Okay, anything else?
I have a question. Is this on a separate lot, or did you replat those two lots together?
I joined the lots together. It's the
It was quite a process. I became aware of this after he came in and asked for the variance. Because he's in two different subdivisions, the county had him replot and put it as one, as a separate lot. So instead of putting the lots together, because it was in two separate subdivisions, he had to replot it as Sealy subdivision. I believe that's, it seems it took a lot longer than in that little brief notation.
about
but
a little over a year.
Okay. Other questions? Good morning, John. I'll wait for you to get seated.
I will afterwards explain how I was actually here 10 minutes ago, but modern technology has failed me.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to deny or accept the variance? Approve the variance?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the variance, finding that the requirements of section 39.12.011 have been met, and with the exception that there be no further buildings allowed on this piece of property.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second.
Second by Trevor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Pat?
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Okay, do a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, 2 and 3, I believe, are the same building, and we'll take them individually. And number 2 is to consider a request for a variance from the single lot frontage width of 45 feet, reduced to 41.12. The site is located at 1281 24th Street West. Who is here to speak for that? Give us all the details.
My name is Jim Sullivan, and I'm with Sullivan Properties. And I was looking at the application, which we have one wrong statement on there. When we did build this, the variance, we would have had to ask for a variance at that time. I wasn't aware of it. Leonard's pointed it out. We did build it with the intention, when we bought the land, it was raw land, and we were putting in water, sewer, and streets. And during the time, we had intended of selling these off, but the ones on top sold off. We would usually sell one, keep one, and the ones on the bottom weren't selling. The ones on top were selling because they were walkouts, so the bottom ones became the rentals. But we did put the infrastructure in such as that each has their own water and sewer into their unit, their own sump system, and the firewalls in place. And just simply because the ones on top were selling, we didn't sell the others, and we should have came and asked for a variance then. And it's just being quite honest, our ignorance, we didn't know, we didn't check the lots. Otherwise, we probably would have downsized those houses, but that's where we're at. And someone up top who rents from us, and they're paying probably $1,700 a month in rent. I told them I couldn't sell them those top ones, but I could make it work for them, you know, for $190,000 on the bottom ones, because they're less square footage, which is below market to sell, but he's been a good renter, and we're just trying to get him so he could get some, instead of making payments for rent, get equity into his house. So that's where the request comes. If we don't do this, we would probably look at trying to build in something on 24th, but I don't know if that meets his time frame, and that's basically why we're here. We probably should have brought in all those on 24th at the time when we built them, because we did build them with the intention to be their own standalone twins. I think part of the confusion on our company came when we moved down from Williston. That's what they required for infrastructure, and we didn't check the variances on the lots. So we're following the infrastructure rules and not the lots.
Questions for Mr. Sullivan? Was this a situation that came up not too long ago with one unit up the street?
Correct. This is a similar situation with I guess, all of them. They're built as duplexes, and truly what they're trying to do is single-family attached is what we'd call it. That'd be two. So with that, the planning and zoning changed. We had a front yard at 50 feet. We reduced that to 45 feet within, I believe, the last 3 years in order to accommodate a single-family attached. However, when a lot of these were built, like Mr. Sullivan stated, that when you actually put in for a permit, we're going to permit a duplex all day long with this lot. But then it happens that somebody wants to buy one, and then they come in to split them. They were built as a single family attached. So we do have that wall. So we're protected on that side as similar properties of this nature.
How about parking?
Again, you're required 2 off-street parking, which I believe these are double stall garage, so they do have that.
Okay. Other questions? Hearing none. Jan, anything? Okay. If not, is there anyone here? No one's here to speak for or against? Are you ready for a decision? Approval or denial?
Mr. Chairman,
Sean?
I move to approve the variance finding the requirements of section 39, that 12.011C1 have been met by the applicant for a variance.
Motion to approve by Sean. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Pat. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Sean?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Trevor?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Okay, you're up next again. Same situation on 1289.
That's correct.
And we're still at 41.12, so it's right exactly in the middle there. Okay? Anyone have a question or comments on that one? Leonard?
I do have actually one additional comment.
Okay.
Prior to this split, it is one lot. Our tree requirement for the city is 1 tree per lot. So just to inform you that that would actually be 1 tree per lot then if we're actually creating another lot. But they're probably there, but I just recalled that that would be the requirement.
Okay. Any other comments? Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion
Motion by Trevor to approve,
To approve the variance, finding that the requirements of section 39.12.011C1 have been met, as discussed at the previous item.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Okay, Bruce? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Trevor?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Jan, you got floor.
And I just want to share my story.
I want to hear your story.
So the, the newer cars now have the keyless fob, the open, right, where you also, as long as you have it on your trunk, it can start the vehicle. And if you don't have it in the vehicle, the vehicle can't start. So I've discovered where this may be a disadvantage, because apparently somehow from driving home, parking out, not like driving my home to parking for the city hall, it fell out of my purse and is somewhere in my vehicle. So right now, anyone can go just take my car, because I can't find it. And I can't lock the car because it's allowed to lock it when it's in there, and it will start because it's in there. So I can't secure my vehicle until I find that box. So I did make a detour and stop after searching for 5 or so minutes at the truck video, and just asked them if they could keep an eye on my car out front, and let me know if anyone feels it is a good description. So I'm gonna
Go head out there and find,
Auto again?
well, one good thing, you know that it's in the car.
I know it's in the car.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Jan.
Well, it's been a pleasure working with you.
Well, good luck. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I have one
Oh,
question.
okay, go ahead.
How many more of these are we going to see? There's a few more lots there I noticed yesterday. That
Well, if they're actually built, that would be the only possible way, I believe, to come in front of this board. If somebody wants to actually build single-family attached on a lot that would have a smaller, I'd be hard-pressed to show the hardship. And I would be adamant, I guess, I'd be wanting to vote against it, preventing a building permit from going on the property. I mean, when somebody purchases one side and they don't realize, I mean, they're into it already, and they made that purchase, and now they come in and say, well, geez, I have to split this. I mean, it's unfortunate, but again, there's a lot of people who don't understand how this is actually goes forward, and I think we eliminated up front, and we did do that. But when somebody signs an applicant for a duplex with the intentions of actually thinking, you know, I'm just going to rent this out, things change. Right? I mean, to say this is it forever, it just isn't. So we almost have to look at it up front. And I'll actually create things on the building permit side where if it's a duplex, it's we're almost going to look at, okay, if this ever is going to be split, we're going to have that conversation, which we already do, but it's going to be on the permit as a duplex if they if that split would be less than that 45. I don't foresee anyone coming in and building duplexes anytime soon. It's single family attached, if it's two. That's what's happening, and for somebody to come in and start putting up duplexes, I just don't see that happening in our environment. And I think, Trevor, you have a take on that also.
Still quite a few of these already built that are not split, I believe, isn't there?
I don't have an inventory on that. We could probably try and get one.
And he's not the only builder that did it.
Right.
You know, there's other builders in that similar areas that did quite a
Right.
few of these too.
And they were, and they're more than two, so they're townhomes. So they actually, they can actually exceed, or actually be less than this 45 as far as a townhome. So
No.
just things to be aware of when we're issuing permits. We're going to make it very clear, even more clear. But with the selling of properties, sometimes I think you're going to probably get that third owner coming in, not the original person who built it or the developer. And I think, I mean, we'll obviously visit it at that time. But if somebody's coming in today, as far as a single family attached or a duplex, we're going to try to see that we meet that 45 with anticipation of it being a single family attached.
I just have one question, and we can, if we want to end the meeting, we can too. But is there any thoughts to changing the setback stuff? Or are we pretty set on that as far as the city concerned? You know,
As far as the setback from?
for like single family attached, you know, because I mean there is a minimum lot width you could do that is smaller than 45, but still meets the 2 off-street parkings, all that sort of stuff. You know, like, because he said he built this to single family attached criteria. You know, there is a criteria there where like the 45 is, you're having 2 criteria because you have like your side setbacks, your 2 off-street parkings. That's kind of like a minimum. And then you have 45 feet. So like, I know the 45 feet is what you go off of, but you know, you can construct the building at say 31 feet wide that meets all the requirements with 6 feet on the side. So, you know, is there a way to, is the city considering that, or are we pretty set here?
I think we're pretty set right now. Obviously, you can go in front of the planning and zoning and request for more if you feel like it's too much. It used to be 50, and not that long ago, we reduced it to 45.
Yeah.
So and that was discussed at length.
Sure.
To reduce it to by 5. And 40 was talked about, 35 was talked about, but that is actually, you know, at that time.
If the city is set on this, and I don't know if this messes up with the post office, but one way that may help this is when you have individual addresses for each of these, I think everybody assumes they're single, like split up, versus if you did a building, even if it's 6 townhouses, if it had one address and then it was like unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, everybody would assume it's not split. Might just be one way to take care of this, because then they have to come in and get a separate address for the other side.
And emergency management sets up the addresses. So
Yeah.
it's really up to the developer and emergency management as far as those addresses. We can recommend that they actually do it in suites, but it's not mandated by the city to do it that way.
Sure. It just might be one little thing that, as long as it's not a big deal on their part. Because, I mean, I know I'm a builder, but when I see the separate address, I assume it's a separate property, not that it's a duplex,
Right.
you know.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trevor. We are adjourned.